Welcome to our latest episode of Chew Diligence. We are so excited to have John Cedric Smith, chef and owner of EJ's Urban Eatery, with us. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. And we love to start off the podcast talking about great dishes in Kansas City. So first, the food. Jill, where have you been?
I went to Thelma's Kitchen.
Oh, yes.
Have you been?
Not yet, but I've heard such amazing things. What a concept.
It's a great concept, a pay what you can concept. Just really good food and a great atmosphere, very community oriented. So you go in and there's a couple of different choices on the whiteboard. You pick 3 different things and you pay either for a small or a large. $7 or $10 are the suggested amounts. Of course, you can pay more. I got the small. It was a lot of food, a lot of really good rib sticking food. And if you don't have the money to pay for it, you can either, somebody could have paid ahead for you, or you can work for like a half an hour or an hour.
Wow.
As a server or cleanup person, and you get fed.
And they've been around for just a little bit. Was it busy?
It was really busy the day that I was there. Yeah, I was meeting a friend there who worked down the street at Ruby Jeans, and so we met. And yeah, it's a great concept. I'm really psyched about it.
It's on Troost.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
What kind of food did they have?
So, let's see. I had the vegan patty just to check it out. Not because I always eat vegan, but it was very good. And then cabbage soup was one of the choices. There were 2 soups and then a salad. That's a lot of food.
Yeah, for the small. I love that.
That was the small, yeah. And my friend had paid it forward for me.
Oh,
so I
like
paid
that.
it forward for others. So that was very cool.
It's very cool that it's working. I love that.
Yeah.
I finally made a trip to Antler Room. I've been wanting to go for years and convinced my husband that small plates would not leave him hungry. I said, if we just go the 2 of us, it'll be romantic and fabulous. And it was.
Beautiful plates.
Oh, my gosh. And the service, the attention to detail. And we had Icelandic lamb and carrot cavatelli pesto with candied walnuts. That was our favorite dish. We tried 5. We had octopus, duck confit. It was fantastic.
Yes, it's an excellent spot. And the menu's always changing. So that's, seasonal. So like when I went, of course, I ate completely different things than what you ate while you were there.
Half the fun of it, right?
Oh,
That it's so different
absolutely.
every time. Okay.
And it's where chefs hang out, I will add, before we segue into our chef. I mean,
Yeah.
if I talk to chefs right now and I say, what's the hottest restaurant in Kansas City? Many, many times I'm hearing Antler Room. They've got to go check it out. They want to see what he's doing.
What he's got next on the
Yeah,
menu.
so it's kind of a chefy place to go.
Speaking of chefs, Chef Smith, where do you go when you're eating?
I pretty much eat at most of my friends' restaurant. Like I was just at Jarocho's. I went to the Boys Grow groundbreaking ceremony for their new kitchen that they're building out there. Not like last 2 Wednesdays ago, and me and my friend Dollywood. We went, Carlos, who's one of the chefs from Boys Grow, gathered like I was. We all went to Jarocho's afterwards, and John Gordon, who runs Boys Grow, we all went there, had oysters, shrimp, just a plather of, small plates, and sat there and congratulate Johnny for, his historic and groundbreaking ceremony that he has and what he got going on out there at Boys Grow.
Really incredible what they're doing.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's it's one of the foundations and charity things that I really took a big loving to, because I'm like Boys Grow. Like, I'm a kid from the streets of Chicago, and I had to learn a lot of things, and I could have done a lot of stupid things like these kids could have, but John has a program where he's taking kids that were like me when I was 14 and 15 and bringing them out into the country and showing them how to grow and showing them how to do things and showing them how to be entrepreneurs and teaching them life skills that most people won't give them a chance on. And so when I first heard about Boys Grow, I jumped on board with it, because it felt, I want the boys to see what the final product of what they're doing could be.
And from someone who knows what it's like.
Yeah.
So you have cooked and lived all over the country and overseas. Talk about when you were 14, what got you started on your path to cooking?
I actually started cooking late. I started cooking when I was at Iowa, and I hurt myself. I tore my ACL, MCL, and I had to do rehab. And
You were playing football, right?
yeah. And what happened was I me and my roommate, like most college kids, we went out and got drunk. We had no money, and but we had a kitchen, and we had some food in the kitchen. I was like, look, my mother made this dish. I can make it happen. I really thought I could, I did, and I made it. It was just like a little casserole with like ground beef, pasta, lasagna sheets, cheese, and cream of mushroom soup. And my
Gourmet.
Yeah, right. That's gourmet on a budget. And my roommate thought that was the best thing ever. So then he came up with this plan. Like, look, he'll pay for the food. I'll cook it. And
That's a good plan.
and that's what we'll do for Sunday dinner. So it went from being me and him to me, him, and two of my suite mates who lived in the room across from us, to me, him, those two, and like 5 more people. And within and this started, mind you, in February. By the 3rd week of March, I quit going out because I had people bringing me stuff every Saturday, and I was cooking for people, and Sunday, 20, 25 people come past my room and come in my door to get something to eat. So, and then my TA came one time, my teacher assistants came, and then he brought a professor one time for one of my classes. And he told me I'm more interested in this, and I'm better at this than I was in his class, because I wasn't interested in his class.
What was his class? Do you remember?
Theater and society.
That sounds kind of cool. That wasn't you.
It was a cool class. I you know what? It was so funny. I like going to the theater. I hated writing the paper.
Yeah.
You
wouldn't be a good critic then.
Yeah. I loved, I would like going to the theater and watching and seeing it. But I learned a lot, about how lighting affects certain moods and how, what, props and what do all these little things mean. And I was all excited about that. But then it was like, okay, you got to write a 4-page paper about everything you did. And I would procrastinate that to it's like, I don't want to write about that. I said it was cool seeing. I don't really want to.
You talk about it.
If I had to sit up there in class and tell you about it, I would have. It was. I passed the class, but it was just more of he just knew that it wasn't me, and he said he knew someone that was in Chicago who's working at a culinary school, and this is back when you had to cook to get in culinary school. And I went and I cooked, and it worked out well, and I went to the Cooking Hospitality Institute of Chicago. I don't know if it's still there now. But I think it got changed to Le Cordon Bleu or whatever. I don't know. And then that's when it started. It was just like, okay, and then I just started meeting. My mom is a very passionate, but she loves people. Like, she would feed you no matter who you were, what you look like. If you were hungry, she would open the door and she would feed you. And it was more of I started taking things I started noticing that's me because of her. And so I started meeting interesting people that, all life forms, and started taking things in and learning life lessons from people that were older than me, because I was always a kid for a while. And all the people that worked in the kitchen were older. So it was just fun. Like my 21st birthday, and I was, the guys finally knew I can go out with them, and they just, took me out and everything. And then I just started taking advice from guys who I worked with. I worked for David Burke at Park Avenue Cafe, and he came in from New York, and he was like, what are you doing? You're well, you're good. Why you only work here 3 days a week? And I said, well, I go to school in the morning. And it was more of he's like, well, you should be here full time. Why are you paying people for things that I'm teaching you and paying you for?
Interesting.
And while you're going to culinary school.
Yeah. He's like, why are you going to culinary school? He said, I'm paying you the same things you're learning for someone else you're paying them for.
I think that's such an interesting thing because, some people really believe in culinary school, and other people really believe in, you can just train in a kitchen and learn that way. I mean, where do you fall on that? Because you've done both.
It's culinary school is good. It's a good starting point. I guess because I was working and going, I was ahead of everybody. I was ahead of everybody in my class. We had a class where you had to cook for the restaurant, and it was 8 dishes. By the end of the week, I was cooking all 8 dishes on my station, and other 15 students were watching me cook. So it was more of yes, culinary school is good. It's good for people who have no idea what they're doing, coming in, showing you knife skills, showing you how to make sauces, getting the educational stuff learning what recipes, how to follow recipes, how to do certain things. But the stuff that you learn really on the job, that helped me more. Now everybody's their own person, so that helped me more. Working under pressure. because you know,
a real kitchen.
Yeah, where okay, now where you're working on one thing at school, I will leave school and I'll go to work and I'll be like, I'll have instead of me working one risotto, I'll have 8 risottos, 3 more other dishes, 2 pastas, and 4 quails. I have to put up in 15 minutes. They don't teach you that in school.
And what happens if you got something wrong?
Oh, you got that's back when you could yell at people and throw pans and stuff plates at you. So this is like the mid to late 90s. It's like, that's back when it was like, okay, it wasn't like, you had someone in the kitchen looking and taking pictures of you. It was like, it was like they let you have it, and
So social media makes chefs behave better. Is that what we're?
A lot of things make chefs behave better. But it was at that time, and then so I started working full time, and I got my associate degree from school, and then I was like, I'm gonna work full time. I could have went back and got a bachelor's, but at that point in time, I was like, I just want to learn. And then I was like, he kept talking about France and how he was in France and how he went to France. So I was like, and then I started doing research on other chefs that I liked, like Patrick Clark, Charlie Trotter, John Banchet from La France, which is one of the iconic restaurants in Chicago. It was just more like Bocuse and, Robuchon. I started reading up on all these guys and getting their books and, I started realizing, like, maybe I need to take the trip overseas and see what these guys have been doing, because everyone said, that's going to take you to the next level. And so I worked 3 jobs, worked at a hotel in the morning, worked at Park Avenue at night, and then actually was like a bouncer / busboy, bar back for a bar, and saved up money for 2.5 years, and went to France.
And was it everything that you hoped for? I know France is sort of the holy grail for most chefs, but I think that's starting to change a little bit, because I think there are more chefs here that now you can apprentice with or work with or stage with or whatever. But it seemed like in the area you're talking about, everybody had to go to France.
Well, yeah, in the 90s it was like you had to, I'm going to speak on that too, because I think that's cool. In the 90s, it was like, okay, you go to France, because that's what everyone talked about. And that's what everything was. It was a nouvelle French cuisine and all this stuff. And so it was more for me. It was like, it was a learning experience. Like I had like I bought a Michigan Guide, and I circled 15 restaurants, and then it shrunk down once I got over there and found me a Little Efficient, which is like a studio apartment, and that shrunk down to probably 5. So every day I would knock on these 5 doors. And then when I went to Talavant, Philippe Legendary, he's a chef, he just got tired one day and he had to carry some stuff in. And he was like, you carry this in, I'll let you work today. And so I carried this.
Right place at the right time.
Yeah, I was there at time because he looked at it. So I went in and I carried some stuff in for him, and then he put me downstairs, and they just gave me like the craziest jobs to do, like the jobs that no one else wanted to do.
Like peeling potatoes or what?
Well, tornado potatoes, tornado carrots, singeing the hair off the pig.
What?
Yeah, cool.
Like with the blowtorch. Like we get a couple whole pigs and it's hanging, and I'm in there and I'm singeing the hair with the blowtorch.
And are you still doing this with the vigor and enthusiasm?
Oh, I thought I was like in my head I'm like, it's for a bigger thing. Just think about it. It's something bigger. You're gonna get upstairs eventually and start working the line. Holding the chicken so we can get the blood, all this stuff, because we got everything, like, you got everything fresh there. Like, it was crazy. Like rabbits, we'd get rabbits with the fur on, and then the butcher would hand them to me, and he'll do one singe, and I have to skin the rabbits and all that type of stuff. So it was like, I was just for the first 3 weeks, I was just the guy that did all the crappy jobs, and then they finally let me move up to be a commis, which is an assistant to the station chef, which is chef de partie. This is back when they had the old French lines where you had a chef de partie, 2 commis, which are training chefs underneath, and so I was a commis for the Garde Manger guy.
That is old school.
Yeah, it was old school. And it was like I was a commis for the Garde Manger guy, and then I was able to move around, and then they started moving around because I worked. I didn't talk that much.
Did you know French? I mean, did you?
When I went over there, I knew 4 words in French, and I always had this book.
Oui.
Yeah. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, I had this book, and I would read when I try to talk to people, and but I tried. And then what the thing was, by like month 3, I was I was good. I was good enough to get myself around. I started
Wow.
even when words I didn't even say right, the people would laugh a little bit. Like I cussed my chef out one time
On accident?
In French,
on
right?
accident in French, and the guys like that was the scariest time because Philippe Legendary is like 5'4". I'm like 220, 5'10". I can probably knock him out, and like I said something, and the whole kitchen just stopped and looked and got quiet.
And you're like, oops.
And you didn't know what you said.
I didn't know what I said, and the guy who was right by me, the other me, he's like, and he told me he whispered to me, he's like, no, that's not. He told me it wasn't good.
What did you mean to say? Do you remember?
I meant to say like coming right up or something, and I misplaced a couple words because I was my American accent, and
I'm
yeah.
picturing what you could have said.
Yeah, just to look at this guy and walking him come and like he didn't like beehive to me. It was a slow pace. It took an hour for him to come to me, and I knew I just
Slow
yeah, and I
Way
knew
worse.
I was sitting there saying, I'm thinking to myself. I said, well, I better get my bags packed because I think I'm be on the next plane out of here. And then he just told me, he kind of whispered to me and just told me, don't I ever tell him that again. And I was just like, all right. And then after service. So the sous chefs were cleaning and stuff, and the sous chefs put me in the office, and I'm like, what did I do? Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And then they start laughing.
Then they laugh, right?
They
when
laugh.
he's gone.
He's gone. They laughing. They're like, oh, we thought he was gonna kill you. We thought it was like we were like it was so funny. Then they told me. I pretty much told.
Bleep.
I told him F off
Yeah.
in a subtle way.
Yeah.
That
In a subtle way.
in a subtle way, I like pretty much, and like how the phrase meant. That's what the phrase meant, but I said it in the and they were just like, "Oh my god!"
Sometimes it's intonation and accent, isn't it?
And it was just like
get you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, yeah. So and then, but yeah, I was I was making I was making pump puree with the potatoes. So when you get an order, because everything was tasting like we made mashed potatoes to order. So it was like I had my pot, I had my potatoes, I was ricing them through with the butter, and he was like, how long do you think? They were asking how long before I come up with the other dishes, and I said, and I told the fish guy, and I was like, I'm like 2 minutes out, and I guess he didn't like me talking to the fish guy, telling him 2 minutes, and he said something, and I said, and he wanted my attention, wanted me to respond, and I responded. But I didn't respond because I'm thinking about getting my potatoes through and the butter through. I didn't comprehend what I did.
So you didn't mean to be mean.
No.
It just happened.
No, it just happened.
So funny. I mean, you're already focused on cooking anyway, and that's intense.
Yeah.
And then there's another language that you kind of have a hold on flying around your head.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my god. So, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot there. It was fun. It was insightful, and then it made me really realize this is what I want to do.
Did your mom teach you to cook when you were growing up? Because this is probably, I'm going to guess, kind of foreign to her. Like, does she get the whole? You went to France and you went through this experience, and does she cook that way? I would assume no.
One of the things I learned, from being over there was, French cooking is very similar to like cooking of like soul food cooking almost. Like they use everything.
Okay.
So it was like, we did a pig in a bladder, they used, we call them chitlins in the South. They used it in other ways. So all the things, the whole compromise of using everything you have and turning something that's not probably the greatest into something, and some of the techniques and skills were all in line that I watched my mom do. No, my mom did never teach me how to cook. I was the only boy out of 4 girls, and I was always the one that told to go outside and break your leg or, go do something. So that's when I started playing football. The girls who she was showing the stuff to, none of them cook now.
Isn't that funny?
So it was just interesting.
So when you all get together, you're the one who's cooking up the food?
No?
No, my mom still do all the
Mom's going to do it still. Okay.
We can't be in the kitchen too long together.
Somebody's got to be in charge.
Yeah. It's because I'll look and be like I had her come down here. She came down to the EJs when last winter, or last early spring, and she came down and she was making some, and I was like, okay, how much is that? How much? She's like, a spoonful. I'm like, what's a spoonful? What are you doing? And I'm sitting there trying to take recipes so I want to mimic the recipe
Right.
and do the product she's doing. But she was doing like just grabbing spoons and stuff, and it comes out perfect. And I'm like, I can't do that.
Right.
You need specific
I know.
measurements.
I was like, I can't. I said I might can make something similar, but it's not going to be the same. And I was like, how do you do that?
And you brought at least influences that up to EJ's,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah. A lot of the influence in EJ's is Southern. My mom, my aunts, my grandmother. A lot of stuff from the South, from like family stuff and things that I saw or like eating at other people's houses that I liked, and and that's a lot of the premise of EJ's.
It's also known as a meet and three. So talk about that, because you're I think the first person to do this in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting concept. And you told me you did a little traveling. And
Well, yeah, the first time I came across a meet and three, I was in Nashville with a friend of mine named Josh Hardbert, and we worked at Kraft together in New York City.
nice.
With Tom Colicchio, and he was running the Catbird Seat in this place called, he has a new place out now called Bastion, and yeah, so he was like, let's go to this meeting three, and I was like, what? So we go in and we're in line, and me, him, and my wife, and we're in line and we're eating, and we're going through the line like it's an old cafeteria style line. You pick your stuff out as you want to eat. You get a choice between meat and one, meat and two, meat and three. You can pick a pie, you can pick a piece of cake, pick a small salad, and then at the end you finish with like sweet tea, iced tea, Coke. Everything's Coke down south, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything. And then you just pick I tell them what kind of Coke you want. That's what it is. and and you grab what kind of Coke you want, and you go sit down and eat. And the thing that made me intrigued by it was that all the people that came through. You saw like your bankers, you saw your construction guys, you saw your CEOs, you saw the Secret Service guy and the governor, you saw some Nashville Predators, you saw some Nashville Tennessee Titan guys in line. All these guys in line, no one got special treatment, no one was picked above the other guy. They all were treated the same, and they all came in and ate and smiled and enjoyed each other's company, and then they left. And that kind of made me think, like, I want a place like that. I want a place where I'm not trying to be pretentious or not trying to be something. I just want a place where people can come in and enjoy, and food. And I always tell people food bring people together, and that's one of the things that's when that started to me. And that's when that, kind of came in my head of thinking that, like, food does bring people together. It brought all these people together, come here, and everyone enjoyed each other. And in the four walls of Arnold's, everyone had a good time. Now, what happens outside the four walls, they can control. But in the four walls, they all were, enjoying each other's company and being sociable and being, gracious and having empathy for each other.
That's kind of what good barbecue restaurants
Sure.
do.
Like cooking is your love language.
Yeah, it is. It was an interesting experience. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to another one. I went to Bishop's, and then I just started checking all of them out. And then I realized Kansas City don't have one. We have elements of it. The barbecue places have certain elements of a food meet and three.
Right.
Where you go through the line, you cafeteria style, you get to pick some sides, you pick your meat. But I wanted to take it to I wanted to do a level like, from the cooking I knew how to do, like, using fresh ingredients and, doing everything from scratch and, and trying to come up with something that's very different than what my contemporaries are doing.
And putting very fresh ingredients. I think that's kind of the key, the local and fresh ingredients. Because so many barbecue restaurants and other places like that, they're not mixing that farm to table ethos. That's really, I think, really important. Describe for us what it's like. I've been there, but Lindsay, have you eaten there too?
Not yet.
Okay, so describe, because I think people come in and
you order at the counter.
Need a little explanation on how this works, because it's not. You really don't have a cafeteria line like you're describing.
No, that's the old school. Well, we try to do it with a little twist. Like I taught when we first started, I was thinking about cafeteria line, and then when we got the space we had, it just was nowhere to put it.
Yeah.
So what we did, we walk in, you look at the chalkboard, you order. You can pick one of our signature. We have a couple signatures. We have our espresso rub smoked brisket.
Yeah, I've had that
with the white barbecue sauce.
Alabama style.
Yeah, Alabama white barbecue sauce. and then you pick. You can pick one side. You can pick two sides. You can pick three sides. Like people pick our local greens, which with braised collards and turnips.
Collards, I had those.
Squash casserole, which is now like a favorite, like a cult favorite that if I ever took off, I think someone would probably come after me. Baked mac and cheese, and then they get their order, they get their ticket, their little stand with the number, and they go sit down, and then the guys in the kitchen, they make it, putting it up, and the server come bring it to you.
So it's a nice combination of serve yourself and seated service.
Well, and I feel I've had your Alabama barbecue sauce because you've cooked at some of the charity functions we've been at. You won, right?
I won 2 of the ones we were at, the Cooks for Courage ones. And and that's, I try to do things like, Kansas City is an amazing barbecue town, and there's amazing food in Kansas City. But I always said, you have to do something that make you stand out. Like, I'm never going to compete with Gates. I'm never going to compete with Oklahoma. Joe's Kansas City.
Right.
I'm not. I know.
Old timer.
But yeah, I know. I'm never going to compete with all those. There's a lot of heavyweights here. So why try to compete with them when I could do something very similar, but just twist it just a little bit?
Well, and so often I feel like in barbecue, the meat is the star, right?
Yeah.
And your meat is definitely a focus, but also your sides.
That's a big
could
thing.
stand on their own, right?
And I'm a big side girl. Always have been. When I go to barbecue restaurants, sometimes I have to think about not talking just about the sides.
Right.
And go back to the meat, because that's so important.
Yeah, the sides were a big thing for us, and that's, keeping, like, we have fresh sauteed green beans with garlic and a little white wine, and we do dirty rice, and we do, we just try to do the best we can. Roasted sweet potatoes with brown sugar molasses glaze and stuff like, so it's just, and then
It's very comforting.
Yeah,
too.
it's very comfort. It's comfort food. And then we also have some great desserts that, most of them have their coat following, like the white chocolate bread pudding with the bourbon toffee sauce. And then we have a buttermilk pie that a lot of people.
I haven't had that yet. I need to come in. And the other thing I haven't tried that I'm dying when I see on Instagram is your Nashville hot chicken.
Yes.
Is there a certain day you do that? Because I can't miss that. I got to get in.
We do that every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were doing it when we first opened. I was doing it on Thursdays, and people kept telling me, why don't you do it on the weekend when I can come down here and get it?
See, I had Thursdays in my head, so it's good that I asked.
But we do that every Sunday. We do Nashville hot chicken, and we also do a mild chicken too. And people come in, and they a lot of people get to take home. A lot of people come in and have it there. And we've been doing it since we opened.
How hot's the hot?
It's hot. Like I
Nashville hot.
Yeah. Well, I went to Hattie B's and did some research.
Okay.
So me and my wife and our cousin and his wife, we went out and we went to Hattie B's, and we got so they have certain levels, and they had like hot, and then they had what the cluck.
Love it.
So I had had one piece of hot, one piece of hot, and then me and my cousin, we shared a chicken tender of the what the cluck, and like it was like so red, like it was like purplish, and like I'm talking about the eating it and like like just the sweating of it, like trying to eat that.
You were
chicken.
actually sweating?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So what's the pepper in a Nashville hot sauce? I mean, does it vary? Like, is it habaneros? Is it ghost peppers?
It's more of Nashville. The hot chicken started in Nashville from it was started at Prince's. I believe Prince's was the first to do it, and it's just more of a cayenne like hot sauce that you make.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of places when they first started, they made it from the oil from that they fried the chicken.
Oil and paprika together.
So they put oil, paprika. Some people put a little brown sugar.
Ooh.
Some a lot of cayenne. It's heavy on cayenne. Like it's like I know it's most places do like for a cup of the mixed rub, it's like 2 cups of cayenne. And it's like,
goodness.
And then you got some that go higher. So then, like, I know what the cluck was like 4 cups to a regular rub. It was like 4 cups. It was like, that's why it was so dark.
And any like butter or any kind of
No,
fat?
it's the oil. It's the oil they use. They take the oil from they cook the chicken, and they use that as the liquid part, and you add this.
But nothing
season.
creamy.
Nothing creamy, and they toss it. Pretty much, it's like hot wings on a whole bird.
Yeah. Ooh, that sounds
Delightful.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little scared, but
You got to have something
but
with it, right?
I'm willing to try.
Yeah.
I'm working myself up,
Where does yours fall? Is it what the cluck or is it hot?
Mine's is more of it's more between it's a little bit between hot and hot.
Oh.
I can't do it. Like I think people are like if I had a couple people come in want like something like what the cluck, and I make it.
Yeah.
But I make that sauce on the side for them.
Yeah.
Because I'm like looking at it, and then I'll taste it, and I'm like, oh, I was like, this person's going to be in pain. But they love it.
Really?
They love it. A lot of people like the heat like that.
Yeah.
Goodness, I don't think
Yeah.
I could handle it.
I have a good friend like that. If he's not sweating by the end of a meal, it's probably not hot enough.
I wish I could handle it, but it is like biology. You can either handle it or you can't, right?
No. Yeah, no.
It's true.
And my wife she can't handle that stuff. And like, and me, I'm like, okay, I've always have different type of hot sauces at home. I put on stuff, and she just like looks at me like I'm crazy.
I think I had a conversation with Patrick Ryan about heat one time, and I think you need to get him down there because he says that like now food without tons of hot sauce for him and peppers doesn't make any sense. But
He has
like
to
for
have
for mortals, I think
For mortals.
Right.
we're like, what? That's too much. Things that even shouldn't be hot. Some people who have built their tolerance up like it
Yeah.
hot.
And like my
all the
family
time.
is pretty evenly split who can handle it and who can't. And the ones who can handle it kind of describe it. It tastes sweet to them. And to me, I just feel pain. but their tongue like senses the heat differently than mine does, truly.
Yeah, I think that's true. My husband's not big into spice either, and nor are my kids. I'm kind of like but you can teach yourself, I guess, is my point to the last story. Is
It's
that
funny to build up my tolerance.
I think you can, and I'm starting like I have a habanero sauce in my. I think it's so well balanced, and that's the other thing, balance.
You got to be balanced.
It's got to be balanced. So I thought, oh, this is too hot, and I tasted it, and I love this sauce, and it's like, okay, every other habanero sauce I've ever had's been like too much.
Fire.
This one's great. So either I am working up, or
Or you found a good one.
or I found one that's just so balanced that anybody could eat it.
Well, you also have during the chicken, you also have the flavorful chicken. And
Yeah.
that's a key. That's one of the things that's important for when we do our hot chicken is it's not just, okay, I'm giving you something that's just all heat and just for show.
Right.
We make sure our chicken's juicy, it's not dry, and it has flavor because we brine it overnight, and it's a whole process. It takes 3 days for it to get to Sunday.
Wow.
So we start our process Friday and like have it in the brine, and then we take it out, then we air dry it so the skin can be nice and dry, and then we have our flour mixtures already made up, and it's a process. You want to have it's as fun as it is having something really hot. If the meat's not good and juicy and tastes flavorful, then you lose the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And you guys have been open in the West Bottoms for over a year now, past the year mark.
Yeah, we're past the year mark. It's a journey, man. It's a journey, and we just try to get better every day and put out the best product we can. And we see a lot going on in the Bottoms. Like the Bottoms has a big future, we believe. We have apartments coming in at the old Abenaki building, 283 or 284 apartments coming in, and like watching the process of that happening. I see the trucks coming in every day, and you don't see it from the street level, but if you go to the back of it, you see the dump trucks, and you see the construction guys are working, and the stuff is happening, and it's happening like in plain sight that people don't even know is happening.
Are people finding you? I mean, you took a risk going down where you are in the Bottoms because you're a little bit hidden. Even if people know where the Bottoms are, you're a little bit away from the haunted houses and the antiquing, on that main drag that everybody knows on 12th Street. So are they having trouble finding you, or are they seeking you out?
People are seeking us out. We did when we first started had a little trouble finding us. One thing we had with a lot of people who are familiar with the area, we tell them we took over the old Jerry Weathers Cafe.
Yeah.
And that's what people are like, oh, I remember that place. And then when we tell people that, and we say we're right at the bottom of the 9th Street Bridge, and that's been a big thing, big help for us too. And having our mural that we had a local graffiti artist, Jesse Hernandez, do that. They have the history of the Bottoms on it. That's huge. The people when they drive past, they see, oh, that's EJ's right there. But yeah, we just try to get our name out there, try to get our brand out there, try to get let people know who we are, where we are, and then now with we have a couple of road bumps with the Beardsley Road being closed. That's a big road bump, and a couple other access points to our restaurants being closed. But people still finding us and reaching out to us.
Have you noticed in the last year the crowd really start to pick up in the neighborhood yet, or is that still coming, you think?
That's still coming. We're still working on that. Like, I talk to a lot. We talk to a lot of the working guys and try to, figure out what moves them. Because they're the heartbeat of the neighborhood. We do get a lot of people from the shops. A lot of shops send people our way, and that's been great. And we appreciate them. So we love their support, just like we try to support them. And we just try to be a pillar in the community in the bottoms, let people know that the bottoms is changing. Like, it's like I tell people all the time, I grew up in Chicago, and like the West Loop before, if you see the West Loop now, the West Loop wasn't like that. When I first started and I was hanging out and I was, working at Blackbird, it wasn't like that. Like, I can come outside, I see the drug dealers, the prostitutes, all that stuff, and then, some woman named Oprah decided to open up a studios, like 5 blocks from where the restaurant was. And next thing you know, in 6 months, it became like totally cleaned up and everything was nice. And now you go to the West Loop and it's like you got like $1 million condos and lofts and all these restaurants. And I'm not talking about like little restaurants like Stephanie from the one on Top Shelf Exart, a good friend of mine. She opened Girl and Goat and the Little Goat and all that stuff. You had Grandmother Bose with a restaurant there. You have so many restaurants and like apartments and all this stuff happening there. And it's also like, for me, also looking at like New York and the meatpacking district, I remember going through the meatpacking district. Cooks used to hang out there, and it was just fun time hanging out. Now you got like Bucatan, you have all these restaurants that came through there, and now it's like it changes the neighborhood. And if you look back in the history of a lot of these, neighborhoods, like the most iconic one was Union Square in New York.
Yeah.
When Union Square Cafe opened, Union Square was nothing.
It's so interesting what happens, though, and I don't know how you feel about that, but you develop these neighborhoods, and then sometimes I've read stories about, particularly in New York, pricing themselves out of their own neighborhood. Do you worry about that at all with the West Bottoms, or are we so far off that you're not really thinking of that?
I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
Where how me and my partner Eric set up our lease and how I think we'll be fine. I think we're fine if it unless let's say the Royals or the Chiefs decide to throw Arrowhead or something down there. That's the only that's the only thing. I think we're in a good spot. I think we'll be fine with with everything going on. It just takes time and having a vision and and putting in the work and doing a good job and staying on and giving people a place to go when they do move down there, and that's a big thing.
Eric is the E of EJ's,
Yes,
right?
yes. He's my brother.
You've worked all over the country. We were talking about what brought you to Kansas City?
I came down here to open up 801 Chop House in the Power and Light.
Yeah.
In 2008, me and Sherry Osborne and Christopher Dennis, this one I moved to. I moved from New York to Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines, and you worked at a seafood restaurant.
I worked
there.
at a seafood restaurant. Then I worked at 801 Chop House with Sherry. We became really good friends, and then we had the chance to open up a restaurant down here, and she was coming, and she's like, "You're coming with me." It was more of, and we decided to come together, and we were like, "Okay, we're gonna do it." And then, because I was at a point where I was like, "Okay, what should I do? I can always go back to New York." I didn't really want to go back to Chicago. I said maybe I can go to the West Coast. I don't know. And then I came down here and visit, and then I saw the construction, and then I started liking it. It was more. I was like, okay, I can hang out down here. I was thinking I was gonna give myself 2 years. I said I can hang out down here for a couple years, and this and that. And then that was 2008. I've been down here now over 10. Got married, bought a house. It's home.
We like to do that to people.
I know.
Just come
home.
for a visit.
Yeah,
Stay
it's home
forever.
And then I just I met people. The restaurant community here was very big. Like you talk about Patrick, like Patrick, me and him, he worked in Chicago for a while, so we knew all the same people. Knew like close, like some of my close friends knew Patrick and Patrick, so we all knew each other. So it was like that was cool, and I saw him, and then meeting Howard from the Rieger, he was a big person that we just kind of talked, and we realized we had a lot in common, and we liked each other, and he was the best man at my wedding, and those friendships and those bonds of seeing what they're doing, seeing what those guys were doing at the time when they first started, saying, and they had a voice. They're saying, "Hey, we all can go back to New York. We all can go to these big cities and but we'll be working for the guys who never leave, like Colicchio and Daniel Boulay and John George. Those guys ain't leaving New York.
Yeah.
You're either going to work for them or you're going to find yourself in a small spot that's trying to do something. But in Kansas City, we had the opportunity. You have opportunity to do it and do it your own way, and create and grow your own little restaurant group or empire or brand or whatever you want to call it. And that, watching them going through that process, made me want to stay and do it.
And wow, really, in 2008, we've talked how many times about how in the last 10 years or so, I mean, that's when everything seemed to just catch fire, right?
Everything changed.
Yeah.
Like, it was like I came down and I remember hanging at the Rieger and just talking to Howard about stuff and it's just like, now I look at him and like I always talk to him about everything, like, because, he's been doing it for so long, owning his own place and stuff. And I always ask him questions about things. And then you just see everyone comes along. Like, it's like we all came together. Like, you got, Michael Corvino, he's an amazing chef, good friend. Carlos from Jarochos, love that dude. That's my brother right there. Love that dude. Like, I feel like we all came up and we're all coming together as one, and we're all putting a stamp, on Kansas City as a great food town, and bringing our own different elements and our own different styles and our own different, vision on it.
I think it's really cool. The chefs do hang out together.
Oh.
Share where you guys hang out besides your own restaurants. Where do you guys go? Because I know you all are getting together, and this is actually the first time I interviewed you, you probably don't remember this, I didn't know much about you, and I said, so do you know, like, who do you hang out with? And you told me all the chefs you hung out with, and I'm like, oh, okay. This guy's a serious contender if he's, if he's hanging out with all these people.
Serious crew. Right?
Yeah, serious crew. And you're like, oh, yeah, so-and-so's my friend. And, oh, yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. So where do you hang out when you hang out with your crew?
My crew? Well, usually it's usually at someone's restaurant. Like, for the longest time, it was the Rieger was our hanging spot for the longest time. Like we would always sit there because it was just,
Is this late night stuff or is this like
late night?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like always hanging out at the Rieger. That was always one of the things, or just hanging out. Like not too long ago, I was hanging out with Ryan at Novel, and we're just hanging out with him. And it's funny. You said, I guess when we first met, I was just more of. I guess I'm not the flashiest. I just try to. I don't try to do things that put too much attention on me. I just try to, I don't know. I just try to be a good dude, and
Well, I think you were out south at the time, and so like I just didn't know how connected you were, and so I was trying to tell you who some of the other people that I was also working with on the Thanksgiving project.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember? I don't even remember.
Yeah, Ryan was. It was me.
Yeah.
Ryan Brazil. It was who else? I remember because I did a salad. And
That's right, you did.
And then it was Josh, and then we
yeah,
it was
yeah. So all these chefs were coming through the studio, and I'm trying to introduce the people who don't know each other, and I find out I'm thinking I'm going to introduce him to everybody, but he already knows everybody. I'm like, well, then why didn't I know you?
Right.
But now I do.
So
Yeah, it was good.
It's like I just try to be one of the guys that just try to do put out really good food and just not just do me.
Be a good dude.
Yeah, be a good dude.
So is that unique to Kansas City? Because we've heard that from so many of them. They're all good friends, which is so lovely to hear. Is that something that is different about this place, or is that pretty universal?
I think a lot of it had to do with, I know in my time when I was like a young cook and coming up, was all us hung together. Mm-hmm. Like in Chicago, we used to, like every Wednesday night, you could catch 5 different staff of the restaurant at Diversity Rockin' Bowl, bowling and drinking beer to about 3 a.m. And it's just like we all hung together at Kraft. We hung with the people at Gramercy Tavern and all these other people. It's just, kitchens, we had that camaraderie. Like we would hang.
You understand each other.
Yeah, we understood each other. Like we like how was your night? Oh, my night sucked. And then you see them go off. And it was funny because most of the time it was just cooks. It wasn't like the sous chef or the chef or the owner. It was just cooks. And I think all of us coming up from in that era, we learned to appreciate each other, and we learned to learn from each other, and we learned respect for each other. We learned that we all grind and hustled together, and we all realized we wanted to do something great one day, and we knew it would just take time, and you can't do it by yourself, and you always have to find people that are like-minded, and I was it's just amazing how many like-minded people. So I think we all came up in that area, and I think now that we're the guys in charge, we still have that mentality of, yes, okay, I own this and I own that, and I'm doing this, but I'm going to support my friend, and I'm going to make sure he's on the same place that I am, and he's going well, and I'm going to send people that way to this guy because, I want him to make sure he's doing well and he's being successful also, and that was a big thing for me being here in the Kansas City community. I think that's one of the reasons I stayed.
The food community is so strong.
Yeah, and we always have each other back, and we always try to take care of each other.
And so good. Truly.
So
you guys network together. I hear guys. Who are some of the top new chefs coming up, male or female, that you're watching?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like what Rachel's doing at Carbone.
Yeah.
She's one of Carlos's friends. Yeah, I like what she's doing. A girl that works for me, she works at Kansas City. She used to work for me. She works at Kansas City Country Club named Raquel Camera. She's amazing. Who else? Like most of I guess I'm trying to figure out age because I hang with so many people. Adam, the chef de cuisine at the Rieger, amazing dude.
Adam, what's Adam's last name? Yoder.
He's amazing. He's amazing too. Trying to think. Who else I've talked to? That's 3. I need to get 2 more.
Well, I didn't put a number on it exactly. I just was wondering who you thought, are people to watch, because you guys are of a certain age and you're established, and I was wondering, who are you watching that you think is next generation?
Those are 3 I'm watching. See what they do next would be amazing. Dina from Corvino, she's amazing. I don't know how I left her. She's amazingly talented. Who else?
She's the sous chef at
she's the chef de cuisine. Yeah, she's chef de cuisine.
Chef de cuisine. But Butterfield.
Yeah. It's funny that it's like 3 of them are women. I love that.
Well, I think that's the other thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I always love having women in the kitchen. I tell people all the time, like, having women in the kitchen is the best thing ever. Because I hate to say it, most dudes are dirty. And women always keep things clean, and they're very organized.
So we mean actually in the kitchen. We don't mean like dirty jokes or anything.
No,
we're talking about they're just more
clean. They're cleaner,
clean as they go.
Yeah, I've always had women in the kitchen. This is the first time in my career I haven't had a woman. I don't have women in the kitchen, which is so weird for me. Like, I've always had women in the kitchen.
Is this a passing thing, or?
I guess
it's just the way the cards fell.
Just the way the cards fell.
Yeah.
But like, I've always had at least 1 or 2. One time I had 3 women in the kitchen with me, and like the guys, and
that's like your sisters and your mom, right?
Yeah. Well, they all. It's always. I always try to get. I would look for the good in people, and I always try to find like different things, and in people that I see that other people don't see, and then I just try to help them grow at that and try to make them better at that.
What's your mom's favorite dish that you do?
My mom's favorite dish I do?
Yes. What does she want you to make when she comes to visit?
She's been up to eat, yeah.
What did she like that I made? I think she liked my greens a lot. She liked my greens a lot. She liked the ribs. She liked that. She liked my chicken. She liked that. And I'm trying to think what else she
did. She give you any grief? Did she say, how come you didn't do it this way? My recipe's this way?
No, she didn't give. She just told me what I should be doing.
In life or in the kitchen?
In the kitchen. And then I kind of just sat back and looked at her like, okay.
What's the dish that's the biggest shout out to your childhood, maybe? Grandma's recipes or aunts or?
The biggest dish to the shout out to childhood would probably be the greens, because I didn't know people in Kansas City would lose their mind for greens when we did them. Because that was like one of the things. I was like, I'm just gonna throw them on because like most places in the South have them on there, and people like were crazy go over it. And that, and then the buttermilk pie. People were really, because when people had them, they're like, oh, they like buttermilk. I'm like, okay, didn't people have it? And it's like, okay, I want a whole pie now. You're like, okay, I don't have a whole pie to give you. I'm trying to sell right. You gotta, that's a specialty order, and. So those are two things that I think, and the squash casserole, those are good too.
Those are very Southern, and I think
Yeah.
that speaks to our kind of weird Southern, not Southern Midwestern roots.
Kansas City's the
About this
South.
before.
Yeah.
Do you say it's the South?
Kansas City's Southern. Now, I tell people all the time, like I they crack up with me. I'm like, it's more. I see more things in Southern here than I ever did in we're Southern. We
We are, aren't we? And we're just going to talk about it. But I came from the West, right? So it took me a while to figure out, because I was thinking everything was Midwest. And the longer I live here, I'm like, that's kind of Southern, isn't it? That's where that mindset is coming from.
There's a lot of people in our newsroom that grew up in the South and work here now, and you could have a whole conversation about where to get a biscuit because they feel like there is or is not a good selection here.
Yeah.
What would you say? Do you guys have biscuits for brunch?
Yeah, we do biscuits and country gravy for brunch. It's good. It's good. Got a little heat to it. Got some country ham, some sausage, some andouille.
Yeah, I've had this. It's good.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
Where do you go for a biscuit if it's not yours?
It's a place I do want to try. It's these guys called District.
District Biscuit House?
Yeah. I heard about I see the pictures. I follow. Like
Yep.
I look at. I see the pictures.
Where is this? I missed it.
There's been a pop-up.
They've been pop-ups, and like I'm always at work for the pop-up.
Oh, the
Hold on.
pop-up, yes.
They're on my
yeah.
Instagram. You guys keep talking. I'll find it.
They're always at work, but I see Jerry Fisher,
Yes.
and he's always he goes there and he shows pictures. I'm like, I want to go there and get that.
Yeah.
But as I'm standing in my own kitchen, and I'm like, what's going on? But
yeah.
but those guys, they do, from what I hear, they do a phenomenal job.
Maybe they should just open up and be a biscuit house, nothing else. Wouldn't that be great? For a single subject restaurant, I think
Biscuit's a
there's
good thing.
potential there.
If you're on the gram, it's District with a K.
Yeah.
District Biscuit House.
Yeah. But no, I've seen the pictures of these guys doing it. I'm like, I want to go. But I'm like, this is the only thing about having a restaurant that's open for breakfast and lunch. Brunch. You don't get to go see these guys like that.
Perhaps they should stop by and bring you some.
Hopefully.
There you
Hopefully.
go.
Hopefully
Have a
one day.
pop-up at your place. There you go.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
I'm thinking here.
I know you're brainstorming for me. I like that. But yeah, Kansas City have a lot of Southern roots in what they do, and I think a lot of it, come from the settlers that came from the South and moved up to the Midwest. A lot of them brought those same traditions, and then what happened was over time the Midwest started using their ingredients, but keeping the same traditions with the ingredients that they grew here that wasn't available to them because they had the ingredients they had in the South when they were doing it at first. And that's probably where the whole elements of that is. So Kansas City has a little bit of Southern, some Midwest, and then you have a lot of people, like you said, that just stay here, like myself, and and just we bring things that we grew up with and our elements into it too.
Benefits of us being smack dab in the middle.
That's true, but
Right.
we're no longer flyover because of chefs.
No.
Because of chefs like John and others who have stuck around and decided to make this a poppin' food scene.
We are very grateful.
We are.
Chef John Cedric Smith, thank you for coming on.
Well,
to
thank you
Diligence.
for having me. Thank you for having me. I've listened to your podcast before and I enjoyed it. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're having a good time with it, aren't we, Lindsay?
Tell your friends. Subscribe.
Please.
or I'll come out to you.
Perfect. He's our buddy.
right.
Let's keep him.
We'll see you next time.